Hello, friends. I'm joined by David Vincent, CFA, CAIA, and Investment Product Specialist at Cadre. David, thanks for joining us. How are you?
Great. Thank you so much for having me today.
Absolutely, David. It's a pleasure to be working with Cadre. Our investor audience is a huge fan of the Cadre platform and some of the things you guys do. So very excited to share some more about the developments you have coming out recently. So you just released a piece actually all about Cadre's technology platform. Can you tell us more about that platform? How does it differentiate Cadre from others in the industry?
Taking it from the beginning, Cadre is a platform to bring institutional quality commercial real estate investments to as broad of an audience as possible. And our goal is to make investing in commercial real estate less expensive, more transparent, and with greater liquidity than historically you've had access to through other institutional real estate managers, right? And our technology is really a core part of what allows us to do that. So we use technology really at every stage of our investment process. But really importantly, I think, is how we're using our technology to help us become better investors, right? So we use our technology, we like to say it makes us both faster and smarter. And before we get ahead of ourselves, real estate is an old-fashioned business. And in order to succeed in real estate, it really is built on personal relationships, having experience on the ground. And our investment team is extremely experienced. They have, on average, over 25 years of experience. And when we can use our technology to improve what they're doing out in the field and help us, lead to better outcomes for our investors, I think that's a win, right? So I don't want you to think that this is us automating everything away and we no longer have experienced investment professionals behind it. But there's a couple different ways that the technology really drives our investments. And one of them is through sourcing, right? So we want to be investing in markets that we think are the highest growth markets throughout the United States, areas that we think have sustainable growth that's going to outpace the rest of the country. So we've isolated 15 markets that we call the Cadre 15 using our data science to really help us analyze not just population growth, jobs growth, those are kind of the key headlines, right? But we're looking at, new permits. We're looking at sub-markets and regions within those cities for the most desirable areas from our perspective. And we really want to focus on markets also that have, a commitment from the local government where, if they're improving airports, if they're building out new highways, things that will help create sustainable growth. And we're able to do that through our own data collection. So we're going to primary sources, we're pulling our own data instead of using third-party vendors in most cases. We're aggregating that internally, and we're creating our own price indices across 50 different metro markets in the United States. We're tracking live transactions as well as projecting into the future using advanced AI and machine learning. We're actually modeling out what we think is going to happen for different asset classes within each of these different 50 different markets over the next 1, 2, 3 years. And that really helps us drive conviction. When we're looking at a market, whether it's a Phoenix, a Dallas, a Charlotte, we want to be in markets that have high growth, and we think it's sustainable.
Fantastic. David, that was so well put and a great start. With that tech platform that you just described as the backdrop, why might more investors be turning to commercial real estate? Can you give us some drivers and some indicators there?
And there's a reason why all of the most sophisticated institutional investors historically have had a pretty meaningful allocation to commercial real estate over the years, right? Every sovereign wealth funds, pension funds, endowments, and foundations. And, historically, individual investors have primarily been able to access real estate exposure either by owning the real estate themselves, right? Or through REITs and things like that. So the ability to add commercial real estate is really powerful from a portfolio perspective because of the diversification benefits, right? So it's what drives the price of a building is very different than the daily tick of the S&P 500 or what's going on in bonds, right? So if you have a traditional asset allocation, adding real estate can help you reduce your overall risk. Historically, we've seen that there's a very attractive growth component as well, so capital appreciation. And I think another real key thing right now is the stable income that you can get from commercial real estate. So if you have a portfolio where you can lower risk, you can maintain your long-term performance expectations, and have a diversified, really attractive income component, I think it makes a lot of sense. And just one final piece on that, I think that's really important with all the headlines going on, around inflation is that commercial real estate historically has demonstrated that it's a very attractive hedge against inflation. And we could go down the rabbit hole of exactly why that is, but I think unlike a lot of other things that investors look to help hedge inflation, there's a very real aspect to increasing income or controlling costs. There's a number of different ways that real estate investors are able to actually either reduce the risk of rising inflation or, quite frankly, benefit from it, where it can actually be a further tailwind.
Excellent. Now, David, democratizing real estate investing. This is a huge topic, very important for our audience, and I'd almost like you to speak kind of directly to them with this answer. But how does Cadre plan to utilize this technology to democratize real estate investing? Everybody wants to get into that. And traditionally, there have been methods that are much harder to invest in or get started with, but Cadre is offering the opportunity to democratize that for the individual. How are you going to leverage that technology platform to make that possible?
Sure. Well, there's a number of different ways that we're doing that. And again, this is core to our philosophy, right? It is to bring commercial grade real estate to a broader audience that really didn't have access to it before. It was too expensive. The minimums were too high. So, one aspect is bringing the minimums down. So we're committed to creating greater access through lower minimums. We don't charge the traditional promote or incentive fee at the fund level, where a lot of other managers do. It makes it much more expensive to end investors. We're able to do that because we've streamlined our internal process and our technology makes us much more efficient, I think, than a traditional real estate investment manager. And so that allows us to lower the cost to end investors. And one other aspect that I think is really critical is the liquidity. So traditionally, if you're investing in a private real estate fund, you're committing yourself to 7, 8, 10 years of holding those assets. Your time horizon might not align with that. Or sometime over that 10-year period, you might have a life event that comes up, or you decide you want to buy a boat, or you want to reallocate your portfolio, and you didn't have that flexibility, which was, I think, a big challenge for a lot of investors. And so at Cadre, we've created a secondary market that we facilitate to help buyers and sellers of assets on our platform. So an investor who bought one of our individual deals or our fund, a year ago or 2 years ago, that maybe now says, I want to reallocate my portfolio. Maybe I don't want this asset anymore. They can put it up on a quarterly basis, offer it to sale, and we seek to match buyers and sellers for those assets. So 4 times a year, we open up this market. We see who wants to liquidate a position that they have, and we try to match them as best as we can with buyers. So it actually creates, I think, a really compelling value proposition for investors where you're getting access to something you didn't have before. You're getting it cheaper, I do believe, than most other institutional grade funds that are out there. And you're getting it on a platform that offers, quite frankly, unprecedented liquidity for those investors.
Fantastic. Now, David, really quickly as a last step and as we draw close to time, the future for Cadre. Very exciting with the technology platform. What can we look for next from Cadre in terms of development and future things that you're going to be working on?
Well, I don't want to give you too much about the future. We like to keep a couple surprises to ourselves, but we continue to build out our technology team, our data science team. I'm really excited about a lot of the things that we're building. We're creating these price indices, as I mentioned earlier, for 50 different markets throughout the country. And we look to, we're really excited to start getting this information out to the general public and, putting it up on our website to help people better understand what real estate is doing, right? Different markets, how they're performing relative to each other, but also continuing to improve and use our technology to make us better investors and driving, hopefully, more attractive risk-adjusted returns for our investors in our funds or the individual deals that we have in our platform. So a lot of great growth, building on our early success and track record, and continuing to innovate and find new ways that we can use our technology and data science to help push the boundaries of what really can be possible, that is, in commercial real estate investing.
Excellent. Can't wait to see it. Exciting future and exciting tailwinds in front of you. David Vincent, CFA, CAIA, and Investment Product Specialist at Cadre. Thank you so much for joining us.
Appreciate it.